We're going to talk about a topic that a lot of people want to talk about but have no clue about, okay? That is the Hemi-Sync, the brain project, where you basically have reality as a holographic projection of your dreams. Like you're in a dream state. What's in your dream state shows up in your wake state, so there is no difference. So it's like you're literally walking around in a dream 24/7, right? That's if you can accomplish it like long term, which I have, right? All of this weird stuff that I see in my sleep shows up in my reality and my day to day, right? This isn't a let's find what the CIA used or what they said it was, put that on, and now suddenly we're like Hemi-Sync professionals, and we should talk about it on YouTube and try and pretend like we know what we're talking about on YouTube and spread videos about it, right? There's a lot of that. The fake spiritual community really gets on my nerves. Like, that's an understatement, right? There's people out here that have just cheapened it, right? You've probably heard that mentioned in some of my videos, that I know that people will cheapen things, and that's true. And it aggravates me because there ain't nothing like the real thing, right? Nothing like the real thing. And people don't want to put in the effort for the real thing, or there's a lot of misguidance on what the real thing looks like or what it is. I didn't have to see any documents, papers, no nothing, to have already been working on my own thing. And one of the equations that I had mentioned was the Euclidean space equation, math equation. When you look at that picture, and those familiar with the mathematics, like, will look at that and know that that is exactly what that, where the head is in that little, that, there's like, it looks like little walls, you know? Like, I'm trying to explain like Euclidean space in a like layman, right? But I mean, the CIA has a picture. Perhaps I'll put it on the community line, right? That is Euclidean space, with a head in it, right? And so basically, is basically the ability to operate in numerous spaces, like some people call it timelines, right? Like simultaneously. I can do that, right? A lot of people don't understand that this space right here, like, you're only seeing surface level of it. That doesn't mean that how you are perceiving it is actually what is here, right? So I started using frequency because I was seeing a lot of unsavory things, like in my dreams or whatever. And so I thought, well, I should use like sound, and a lot of strange things were going on or whatever. Like, my immediate solution was frequency. And so like the first 2 weeks, and I didn't use the ones that are like what somebody would consider like good noise. There's a difference. Not all frequencies are equal, right? Not all sound is equal. Not at all. I used, his name is Zacchaeus Breedlove, and his frequencies are really good. So I started with his, and within the first 2 weeks, I noticed like my perceptions and processing of reality was a lot different um, than they'd ever been, right? And I'll tell you why that is. It's because when you are in the world, like I explained, with you're constantly going in and out of frequency channels, frequency stations, right? Right now, I'm sitting here, I'm speaking to a camera. You can hear the wind blowing, you can hear the trees screeching, blah, 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 like it's its own frequency, right? But if I get in my car and I crank on the car and I turn on the radio and start listening to all that and drive into town where all this loud traffic is and blah, 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 that's a frequency change, right? There's lots of layered sound in that. And then I go into my job where it is completely silent, except for where cars pass by. It's a different frequency, it's a different station, it's a frequency uh, speed change, right? Like one is quiet, one is chaotic, one is kind of in the middle, right? So imagine doing that, adding, you can add a TV to it, you can add whatever, right? And all this fussing and people just talking and blah, 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 blah. Add all of this every day for years and years and years and years, and imagine what that does to your brain. How chaotic your brain is, right? How hard it is to make connections in the brain, like neural pathways to anything outside of what it is directly observing, right? And some people, so whenever you lay down and you go to sleep at night, well, what are you going to dream about? What are you going to see? Do you remember your dreams? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever the brain absorbs through the day is what is going to translate the subconscious part of that through your sleep. Whether you remember it or not, you should be remembering that you have to be able to remember um, pieces of your dream for you to make the connection in your daily life, right? When you start doing that, then you're ready for the next part, which is, okay, well, I didn't quite comprehend this, but if I pay attention in my immediate environment, this is with controlled frequency, if I pay attention in my immediate environment, whatever questions I have or whatever I didn't quite understand will be made understandable through my interactions with people. You'll go out and you'll hear things directly related to it, right? And so it's like a slow, breakthrough in a different language of reality, if that makes sense, right? Where you were completely disconnected to where they start interacting with one another to where now you can create and it all is the same, right? It's weird, it's creepy, right? Like, uh, so in order to make sense of this chaotic frequency that you are just, most people are living in chaos, right? There's no direction. It doesn't even cross their mind that this is a thing, right? It doesn't. So people just go about their day, day in, day out. They've been told the script, they're sticking to it, right? When you start organizing your neurons with sound at night, you do this whenever you sleep, right? I recommend um, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel very weird when you first start, right? Because your brain isn't used to that. Uh, Pure tones, right? There's no, it's one sound, it's tonal, right? Some call it like, there's isochronic tones, Then there's like binaural tones. It's a single like beep or blah 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 blah, right? A repetitive at different rates. Um, I would do that in the beginning and stick with that. And then pay attention to your sleep, pay attention to how that correlates and relates to your waking life. Don't stress about what you don't understand. It will make itself known to you through the day. It is quite strange. It'll be strange, okay? Like, especially if you're not used to it. So, I guess the CIA, what they did was did something in one ear and then it would shift to the other. Listen, I just put a Bluetooth speaker. They're always going to make shit harder than what it is. I put a Bluetooth speaker on my, in general, because they want to use it for shit that's not good, yeah. But I have a Bluetooth speaker on my dresser and I just run sound through it every night, right? And the reason I do that, or I'm not going to give the reason I do that, okay? But just get you an external Bluetooth speaker, run the sound through it, sleep to it, yeah? Because I'm trying to help the right people, not the wrong ones, right? Um, you don't have to listen to it with earbuds, even if you can't hear it. Even if you can't hear it, because some of the tones, even with like the brain sync, like even with some of those tones, you can't hear it like through the speaker, but let it run anyways because it's an environment. It'll still do what it's supposed to do. Okay. Um, I'm trying to think of the best way. There's so much to this, right? Oh, so I guess that they were like doing like tones in this ear and tones in that ear and blah 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 blah. No, no, you don't have to do that. No, there is a left side of the brain. There is a right side of the brain. One is more logic. One is more creative, right? So we could look at like information and knowledge in the form of like relevant papers or studies or whatever if you choose to go that route, right, or use that. So my community line, right, is a good example. Like if we're looking at equations, math, science, whatever, then that's going to be the left side. Or if we are applying it to logic of how the world operates and blah blah blah, and that's the topic that we're discussing, that's one side of the brain. If I am working on a painting or something creative or music, right, then that is the other part of the brain. But the good thing about music is that it can target both areas of the brain, so the whole brain. The specific brain sync, I do that whenever I have, over the course of a couple of weeks, absorbed a lot of information and I want it put in order, right? It'll sync all that information together and give me a cohesive picture. I ran it whenever I slept earlier, like whenever I went to bed, right? So what did I see? I saw people looking up at the sky and you could see like the art and stuff that I'm showing everyone. And I thought to myself, that's glass, right? That's glass. That's glass. And then I saw, because I was in the city, and I saw, for whatever reason, like toilet paper, like if somebody worked at toilet paper, a yard or whatever, like all over the top of it. So it's, that can mean that they're covering that up, right? Trying to cover that up, uh, and whatnot. And just a bunch of strange things, right? Like that. But that was like the apex of it, yeah. So he'll take all that random information and it'll put it into a full picture, a full dream that makes sense with the information that you've put together. So it's almost like exercising your brain to process and animate like all of the information that you feed into it, right? It's sort of like a TV for your brain, is what you're doing, right? So then the sky becomes a TV, right? And this is where physics and the observer effect comes into play, right? Like anything that is not observed is just going to operate as it operates the same way that it always operates, right? So if there are real problems in the world that no one is bringing attention to and no one is focusing on, well, then that problem is going to be persistent and consistent without any attention brought to it. Therefore, it's like if you ignore a problem, right? So if you ignore a problem, then it's going to be persistent, consistent, and it's going to do as it always does. Once you give that attention, you observe it and start, you know, um, questioning it or whatever, well, then it's going to behave differently, right? So, right now in the world, what we have is a world that has been brainwashed, has been conditioned to operate one specific way through generation and generation and generation, right? Um, and there's not been any observations of anything outside of that, right? Outside of what they craft and create for you, right? When you watch a TV, someone crafted that narrative, that story, that whatever around, right? Even in like your reality shows, it's not really reality, is it? No, because they have scripts. There's certain things that they have to do to like sell something, right? Like, um, so that's what your brain understands. It's what your brain is observing. It's what everyone's has always observed. You are set on a frequency that they want you set on. You operate on that frequency day in and day out. Um, and there's no disruption in that, right? None. There's no clearing of it. There's no whatever, right? And I believe they said in the 1930s they changed the hertz to something that was like not good for you, right? And this is the reason frequency is the reason people are sick. Period. It is like 100%, right? So this is a lot larger issue and a lot more important than what people realize. So all of that information that I gave you first, like I said, it seems so simple, right? Because it is. Start running clear tones when you sleep for like the first 2 weeks. I promise you, you will notice a change in your brain. And so your brain will start aligning with the frequency that you're feeding it instead of you just absorbing the frequency that is being fed to you, which is not good for you, right? Someone else is doing all the creating, you are doing all of the consuming. Okay? And that benefits them, it doesn't benefit you. Your brain is very powerful. Frequency is very powerful. So start that and always go with how you feel. If you put on something for the first 2 weeks, I don't care like how uncomfortable it makes you feel, because it's going to be uncomfortable because your brain is not used to like tones, right? Um, but after that, like you'll be able to navigate based on, okay, well, this sounds like what I need for this evening, so I'm going to put that on, and yada, yada, yada. Like everyone has this knowledge within them, they just need someone to help them understand it, right? Let's see. I'm going to give you some examples, okay? And even if you don't have like Spotify, um, you can run it on YouTube, right? Just try to make sure it doesn't have any commercials because nobody's trying to deal with that. Anyways, today I have the dough made for homemade Cheez-Its. I used extra sharp, like white cheddar. Oh no, it's gonna be yummy. And I have wild pole caught tuna, right? I was looking at it, I was like, I wonder who caught my tuna, right? I'm gonna make like a tuna casserole thing, I guess. Um, so Zakios, it is Zakaos tone. So he has the V2K blocker and mind healer. He was doing this stuff a long time ago, and I don't know what happened to him. I think he like passed away or whatever. But it's radiation, TV blocker, cancer, parasites, fungus, chemtrail, blah, blah, blah. He is really good. See, this is going to sound uncomfortable to you, but um, run these for like the first 2 weeks. I'm just telling you what I did. You don't have to, right? You don't have to do anything, all right? This is just a channel where I'm sharing what I'm working on, right? So they have the Parasite Archon. He's really, really good. Like, um, so there's that one, this one. These are the ones I use the most for the first 2 weeks. So you'll see a lot of, you have to be careful, right? You have to be careful because there are a lot of people putting a lot of stuff together that just isn't effective, right? If you use the old cymatic machine, it sounds more in alignment with these tones. Than because I want you to stick with these for like the first couple of weeks before you start moving into more. It, you have to build the sound, right? This is, you're in a chaotic world all day. Come home, sleep, keep the sound simple. So these are, this is a isochronic tone. This is 120 hertz. Maybe what I'll do is create like a playlist and post it on the community line, and kind of just walk people through it, right? Because I realized I was like, oh crap, I said that I was gonna like post, yeah, but people can't start where I am. They need to start like, you have to start from the bottom up. You can't just jump in on other people's. That's what's so bad about fads and people trying to teach other people things, is they'll think that they're ready or want to be ready or jump in the middle of something and never get the like building blocks correct. You get what I'm saying? So I think that'll be the next thing that I work on. I'll create a playlist, put it on there. If you're interested in it, you can use it, right? And then we can observe uh, changes, etc. But yeah, it's stuff like this. It's not gonna be your cleanse the pineal gland with 900 fucking sound layers through it. I get so aggravated with that. That comes later. That comes later, right? That comes later, much, much later. Uh, in the beginning, it's going to be stuff that sounds like that, and it doesn't sound, it won't sound pleasing to people's brains that are just chaotic and used to, right? And I'll get into the music that you consume and the importance of it afterwards. I feel like it's easier to work on like one little block of something and then do it in steps so that everybody can get to where they can paint the fucking sky, where they can change their environment, where they start their perceptions start changing, their brain starts processing its environment differently, right? Because that's what it's all about, right? I mean, if you feed your brain like negative TV all day, right? If the TV is where you're looking for your information and not like in your space and whatnot, right? There's just two different, you can let them do it or you can do it, okay? Period. Hopefully, I explained that in like its basic form to where people understand it, right? I'm much more of a doer, not much of a talker, right? Like, I like to lead by example, so I just post what I'm working on, what I'm doing, etc., like daily. And people can look at that, but perhaps I need to like start a little playlist section of like something. I don't know. I will figure it out, okay? So, yeah, that's that.